Hi, my name is Gagandeep Singh and I am the organizational psychologist. In today's video, we will talk about the difference between experience and expertise. Now, most people, especially corporate professionals, think that the more experienced a person is, the more expertise they possess. And that's partly true. But what if I told you that the real reason experts become experts in their field is not just experience. It is a special type of practice they undertake, which is responsible for creating new neural connections in their brain that leads to learning. And this type of practice is called deliberate practice. And that's what we'll talk about in today's video. Now, most people assume that if a person has a lot of experience, they must be good at something. That's why during the hiring process, recruiters look for people with the maximum experience in a certain role. But that's not the only determining factor of competence. In fact, in our work with companies across a wide range of industries, we found that it wasn't necessarily the number of years of experience that determined competence of a person, but it was the amount of time people spent in doing something called deliberate practice. Now, what is deliberate practice? It's a relatively new term. Deliberate practice is a concept that was popularized by a psychologist called Anders Ericsson and his colleagues. It refers to a specific type of practice or training methodology designed to improve performance and develop expertise in a particular skill or domain. It is a goal-driven practice that is meant to address an individual's weaknesses and make improvements in them. Deliberate practice sessions are very different compared from any other forms of practice sessions because it involves four key variables. The first one is a very specific goal that the learner wants to accomplish, which means the first variable is goal setting. So if a person wants to get better at something, they should set very clear goals and objectives so that they can track their progress and know when they succeed or fail. The second variable is absolute engagement, which means that a person should be completely focused on the practice session and they should not multitask or do the session half-heartedly. In fact, it is better to have a short practice session with 100% focus than a longer practice session with 70% of focus. So the second variable is single tasking and absolute engagement. The third factor is continuous repetition of the task over and over again, but with a slight stretch every single time, which means each session should push the person slightly out of their comfort zone, around 10 to 15%. And I'll explain all of these points with an example shortly. And the last factor is instant feedback from an expert, which means that the person should have a coach who can look at their practice session and immediately give them corrective feedback to improve themselves. If a person follows all of these four pointers, then they are supposedly engaging in deliberate practice. Let's take an example. Suppose you want to learn how to get fitter and you want to build some body through exercise. Then deliberate practice would involve one, setting very specific goals about what you wish to accomplish, how fit you want to get, how much weight you want to lose, or how much muscle mass you want to gain. That's the first one. Then you should practice going to the gym regularly, which means roughly 5 to 6 times a week. Anything less than that would not allow you to build sustainable habits and strong neural connections. The third point is that during those training sessions, you should be completely focused on the exercise, which means no multitasking, no music, no chit chatting. And then lastly, you should constantly stretch yourself, which means in every training session, you should be doing exercise which is slightly more than your comfort zone. So if in your first gym session, you are picking, let's say, a 4 kg dumbbell, then in the next session, you should slightly increase the load. And you should keep increasing the difficulty in small amounts. If it gets too much, then reduce the difficulty slightly and then again gradually increase it. And the last point is that while you are engaging in this session, you should also have a personal trainer who can give you instant feedback on whether you are doing the exercises correctly or not. If you follow all of these 4 steps that I just mentioned, your practice would count as deliberate practice. Anders Ericsson, who was the person who formulated this term, he wrote a book called Peak. And in that book, he mentioned that usually if a person is able to accumulate up to 10,000 hours of deliberate practice in a specific field, they would become a master of that field. Most elite athletes, musicians, painters, and doctors usually accumulate 10,000 hours before they are called experts of their field. So if you wish to become a true expert, don't just practice, engage in deliberate practice. And if you deliberately practice hard enough, you will become significantly better than others, even those who are more experienced than you are. That's it from my side. My name is Gagandeep Singh. I am the organizational psychologist. I hope you liked the video. I hope you liked the concept, and I'll see you again very soon. Till then, take care and keep practicing deliberately.